Good evening. Today's topic is about international classification of disease. It is officially called the International Statistical Classification of Diseases and Related Health Problems. ICD, or International Classification of Disease, is the shorter term for this classification. It already had 10 major revisions since 1900s. The latest edition is the ICD-10, while an upcoming ICD-11 revision is currently ongoing and being spearheaded by the World Health Organization. This classification is translated to 43 languages and being used by 194 countries. First part to discuss is the early history of classification. The first one is John Grunt, who has attempted to estimate proportion of live-born children who died before the age of 6, using the classification of the causes. These studies published as natural and political observation made upon the bills of mortality. He is also known and credited in producing the first life table. One is the person who is properly known as Savages. He also attempted to classify disease systematically, which has listed 10 major classes of diseases and broken down to 294 genera and 2,400 species. This classification was published as Nosologia Methodica. Next one is Carl Linnaeus, who is a botanist and published a classification of disease named Genera Marborum. William Cullen, his classification of disease was generally used in the beginning of 19th century. His work named Synopsis Nosologiae Methodicae has majorly influenced William Farr, while William with Mark Diespin has created a classification that was recognized by International Statistical Congress in 1853. The classification was arranged into 5 groups: epidemic diseases, constitutional general diseases, local diseases are arranged according to anatomical site, developmental diseases, and the diseases that are the direct results of violence. This classification was further revised in 1874, 1880, and 1886. It also became the basis of international list of causes of death. Then Jacques Bertillon, whose classification has adopted the principle by William Farr, which distinguishes between general diseases and those localized to an organ or anatomical site. One is the timeline of revisions and reorganization of the classification from 1900s to the present. So if you would notice, in 2018, the ICD-11 is currently ongoing and it is target to be released on 2018. And ICD uses and benefits. It is designed to serve as a way to capture and classify mortality and morbidity data, its frequencies of causes, and for the use of comparative reporting and analysis for clinical and research purposes. This is used to establish a common and standard language and grouping by a set of. This is being used to monitor the morbidity and mortality statistics, reimbursement systems, resource allocation trends, automated decision support in healthcare, and keeping track of safety and quality guidelines. Then, who are the users of ICD? It could be the certifiers, coders, and users of coded data. These users include physicians, nurses, health workers, researchers, health information managers, policymakers, insurers, and national health program managers, among others. The last two revisions had major differences when it comes to the number of codes, alphanumeric, flexibility and specificity, laterality and combination of codes, which is summarized in this table. And we will be discussing specifically the ICD-10 codes. So these codes are grouped as as communicable diseases, general diseases that affect the whole body, local diseases arranged by site, developmental diseases, injuries, and external causes. The ICD code has three volumes or three books. The first volume is the tabular list, the second is the instruction manual, and the third one is the alphabetical index. The first volume, it contains the 22 chapters of alphanumeric listing of the diseases and other details that includes the inclusion and exclusion notes. It lists over 11,404 character codes. So this is the summary of the chapters that are divided per body system. The next one is the second volume, the instruction manual. This includes the steps on how to use the classification to code for the mortality and morbidity data. And then the third one, uh, this contains the alphabetical list. However, this has more entries than the index because some diseases have more than one name and some diseases are grouped under one code. This volume also contains guidance on selecting the appropriate codes for many conditions not displayed in the tabular list, a table of neoplasms, an index of external causes of injury, and a table of drug and chemical. Then, Golden Coding Rule, volumes 1 and 3 must be used together to correctly find codes for each case. For example, cause of death or diagnosis. So, for example, a patient is seen for treatment for a rupture. For the users to identify the correct code, one must consult from the index representing the disease, which is rupture, listed as rupture. Then below it listed the different parts of the body. So you will find the spleen, which is S36.0 code. And to check for further details like the exclusion and inclusion notes, we counter check it with volume 1. For volume 1, it has different parts. It includes the chapter, which is usually based on the disease or of the body system, special diseases of external factors. Then the block that groups together categories having common factors, the category and the code. The structure of ICD code is alphanumeric that begins with an alphabetical character and two digits for the category, which is highlighted in red, followed by a point. The fourth character indicates specific etiology, anatomic site, severity, or other clinical details. This is highlighted in yellow. At this level, the code can be called as rubric. And then the last character or the sixth character is usually an extension. In this slide, you may see the ladder of specificity of the code for S52, which can start from the three character level up to the sixth or seventh character. And then next one, although not all codes can reach up to fifth or sixth character like the previous example, there are ones that can only possibly until the fourth or just even on the character level code like the G20 for the Parkinson's disease. The next part of this report is the coding convention. Usually, for the volume 1, we will encounter different coding conventions, which are certain abbreviation, punctuations, symbols, and instructional terms to aid the users to correctly classify a disease or diagnosis. The first is the inclusion terms. These may also be found at the chapter and block levels. Inclusions listed at the chapter level refer to all the codes in the chapter, while inclusions listed at the block level refer to all the codes in that block. So, while on the On the other hand, exclusion terms are the conditions that are not included or covered by the code. It can be coded elsewhere, not within the chapter or code range. The correct code can be assigned in the exclusion notes as in the example. Either the full code will be given, or the block, or a code range, or the relevant three-character code and a point dash. Next one is the point dash in code titles is used as a replacement for the fourth character of a subcategory. It means that the user should look it up for the specificity of the code. While N in the code title stands for end on or. In addition to that, you might notice as well that the NOS or not otherwise specified. It means it indicates where a disease or injury belongs if it is not qualified or if you have no further information to allow you to use a more specific 3 or 4 character codes for a disease. While NEC or not elsewhere classified, this means that it alerts you to consult the index or the volume 3 or the inclusion and exclusion notes to be found in the volume 1 because there are other conditions which include the same terms are to be found classified elsewhere, often in other chapters of the ICD. Next one is dagger and asterisk. This allows the users to create combination of codes in terms of underlying causes and current manifestation. It is a basic principle of the ICD that the dagger code is the primary code and always use a single condition coding. An asterisk code should never be used alone. When coding underlying cause of death for mortality purposes, the dagger code should be used, never an asterisk code. For example, the patient states that she has a cataract, which is the result of insulin-dependent diabetes. The combination of code captured diabetes mellitus with ophthalmic complication, which is E10.3 dagger, and the diabetic cataract, which is H28.0 asterisk. It shows the underlying cause, which is insulin-dependent diabetes, and the manifestation, which is cataract. Therefore, the two codes needed to capture the diagnosis of the patient are E10.3 dagger H28.0 asterisk. The next volume is the alphabetical index. This consists of 4 parts. The first one is the introduction. Then the section 1 is an alphabetic listing of terms related to disease, nature of injury, reasons for contact with health services, and factors influencing a person's health. While section 2 is an alphabetical listing of external causes of injury, morbidity, and mortality. Then section 3 is an alphabetically arranged table of drugs and chemicals. In the alphabetical index, you will see the list of the diseases by lead terms and their essential and non-essential modifiers. There are also coding conventions used in the alphabetical index. The first one is the cross-reference, which is used to double-check and to not avoid unnecessary duplication of the terms. Example of this is C and C also. The parentheses that you will see are considered as non-essential modifiers, but they do not affect the code assignment. And then NEC, not elsewhere classified, and point dash, which is same with the coding convention mentioned from volume 1 or the tabular list volume. To summarize the use of coding in the 3 volumes, always first determine from the medical documents the conditions or diseases that are needed to be coded. Locate the condition from the alphabetical index of volume 3 and then locate the code in the volume 1 or the tabular list that was found in the index. It will also show the coding instruction and other exclusion and inclusion notes. And then, Volume 2, or the instruction manual for further rules for the reporting of mortality and morbidity data. Morbidity coding. These guidelines are found in Volume 2. At the end of an episode of care, may it be inpatient, outpatient, or practitioner service, the clinician's responsibility to record all conditions which affected the patient in that period by assigning the ICD codes. This should include the main condition and any other conditions or problems that were dealt with during the episode of care. What's the use of morbidity data? It provides information about a particular disease in terms of causes and frequency, etc. This is also used for decision making in healthcare management and resource allocation. It also provides information for disease prevention programs, clinical research, education, and epidemiology. Morbidity data can be obtained from medical records from the hospital, school, workplace, death certificates, health surveys, and registry records. There are two kinds of coding for morbidity coding. The first one is single coding and the second one is multiple condition coding. For single coding, condition coding, while some establishments may implement single condition coding policy because of lack of resources or because the resultant simpler data may be more appropriate for its needs. This means that the coder has to choose the main condition from all the recorded diagnoses so that it can be coded. The main condition is the main diagnosis or the main symptom primarily responsible for the patient's need for treatment. While multiple condition coding is when all the diagnoses are coded. Aside from the main condition, the other conditions are listed as well. These are the conditions that coexist or develop during the episode of care. It can be a comorbidity or complication. Comorbidities is a disease that accompanies the main diagnosis and requires treatment and additional care, in addition to the treatment provided for the condition which was the patient was admitted. While complications it is what appears during the episode of care due to, a pre-existing condition or arising as a result of care received by the patient. There are times that the clinicians who are responsible for the coding of the diseases are not available for clarification. For the morbidity data be coded, there are 5 rules in reselection of the main condition. The first rule, or rule MB1, the main condition is reselected if it seems like the main condition is incorrectly coded, or where a minor or long-standing condition or an incidental problem is recorded as main condition, and a more significant condition relevant to the treatment given or the specialty that cares for the patient is recorded as other condition. Reselect the latter as the main condition. Rule is if there are several conditions that are all coded as main condition, they cannot be all coded together. So the main condition that should be selected is the one that the medical records point to as the reason for care or treatment. Otherwise, select the condition first mentioned. The third rule is reselect the main condition if it represents a previously diagnosed or treated condition. If a symptom or sign or a problem classified to Chapter 21 is recorded as a main condition, and this is obviously presenting signs, symptoms, or problem of a diagnosed condition recorded elsewhere, and care was given for the latter, reselect the diagnosed condition as the main condition. fourth rule is specificity, wherein the diagnosis recorded as the main condition describes a condition in general terms, and a term that provides more precise information of the site or nature of the condition is recorded elsewhere. We select the latter as the main condition. You should code the more specific as always. And then last rule, alternative main diagnosis, where a symptom or sign is recorded as the main condition with an indication that it may be due to either one condition or another. Select the symptom as the main condition. Where two or more conditions are recorded as diagnostic option for the main condition, select the first condition recorded. If the morbidity is caused by external causes or injuries, the nature, the codes usually coming from Chapter 19 should be coded as the main condition, while the external cause that led to the injury, codes coming from Chapter 20, is usually coded additionally. Both codes should be used. Coding of sequelae of certain conditions is available for the sequelae of the past condition, or usually known as the late effects. The past condition may not be the cause or of care or treatment, or may not be present anymore. But if it is the cause of the present problem, the current condition or the sequela is the preferred main condition to be coded. However, where a past condition is responsible for the presence of multiple current conditions and not one of the current conditions that can be identified as predominant, then the sequela code for the past condition may be used as the preferred main condition, and then it is then followed by codes for each of the current conditions. For acute and chronic conditions, when the patient is suffering an acute exacerbation of a chronic illness and no combination category or code available, the acute aspect of the condition should be assigned as the main condition, while the chronic aspect should be coded as an optional additional code. Coding for post-procedural condition and complication. Specific code ranges are available to classify the complications after surgery or procedure. Usually, if it affects the whole body, we may refer to Chapter 19, like the range of T80 to T88. If there is a specific body system, the code range are usually found at the near end of most body system chapters. The next one is mortality coding. Data can be obtained from birth certificates, inputs from a coroner or legal officers, and then verbal autopsy data. For reporting of morbidity data, the cause of death is reported on a form complying to the international form specified by WHO. Cause of death is defined as all those diseases, morbid conditions, or injuries which either resulted in or contributed to death and the circumstances of the accident or violence which produced any such injuries. Underlying cause of death is also reported in mortality coding. It is defined as the injury which initiated the train of morbid events leading directly to death. Since the underlying cause of death should be selected, the condition that started the train of events should be identified. The ICD code will be checked for further instruction on modification of this originating cause to determine the underlying cause of death. There is a general principle in choosing the underlying cause of death. When more than one condition is entered on the certificate, the condition entered alone on the lowest line, part 1, should be selected only if it could have been given rise to all the conditions entered above it. For example, that the last line that is the condition or disease that directly led to death is the carcinoma of head of pancreas. If the general principle does not apply, there are three rules to use. The first one is select the cause that started the sequence. If there is more than one sequence which ends with the reported immediate cause, you select the originating cause of the first one. And then the second one, if there is no reported sequence, select the first mentioned condition. And then the third one, once the originating cause was selected by either the general principle, rule 1 or 2, you must check if the condition you have selected is an obvious consequence of something else reported in the certificate. So if this condition is reported on either part 1 or part 2, select this as the underlying cause of death. There are 6 modification rules. These rules are intended to improve the usefulness and precision of mortality data. They generally refer to causes of death that are amenable to prevention strategies. This allows internationally uniform handling of reported terms that are imprecise or lack specificity. The modification rules also assist in the coding of conditions unlikely to cause death, stages of disease, and sequelae of diseases. The first rule is this is where the selected cause is one or ill-defined, and another one is a condition classified elsewhere. Then you should code the cause of death as if the ill-defined condition had not been reported, except to take account of that condition if it modifies the coding. The second rule, which is the rule B, trivial conditions. This is applied when the selected cause is the trivial condition, unlikely to cause death. And if there's another more serious condition that is also reported, you should select the more serious condition as the underlying cause of death. And then rule C, linkage. If there are two conditions that can be combined as underlying cause of death, we may link it to each other. And then rule D, specificity, is when the condition preferred to be reported on the certificate should be the more informative precise term over the general term. And then rule E, early and late stages of disease is when if there is two conditions, the one is early and then the second was late stage, always code the more advanced stage. And then rule F, sequelae, is when the underlying cause of death occurred from the residual effects of the sequelae. Code it as old or past or late effect of instead instead of sequelae of category. And then the last one is the diagram on how one can identify the underlying cause of death. That's the final slide for the reporting. For further information about ICD-10, there's an online training tool by WHO which is available at their website. Thank you so much for listening.